Hi there. Today I'm gonna talk about graph theory. Graph theory consists of graph, which consists of nodes, edges, and degrees. So you have a connected nodes by edge, and then the number of nodes connected determine the degree of the graph itself. So that's in very short way to describe the graph theory. But why do we need this theory, and why do we need to understand this in order to understand how does the brain function? Usually the brain function by regions. Region of Broca, for example, anteriorly in the left frontal lobe mostly, and Wernicke, posterior temporal, which is related to the speech. So you have Broca in the left frontal, Wernicke in the temporal region, and then they are connected by a fasciculus called arcuate fasciculus. We need to understand how the graph function in general. It's related to regions in the brain. So whenever we have a region which is consuming more blood, it consumes more oxygen, and then after that, when it consumes more oxygen, the blood vessels dilate, and then we can see it by MRI. That in very short brief description of blood oxygen level, and how does we infer that to the normal real life situations, because the language is not usually simple as this simple description. The language is more complex, more complicated, and researchers found that in resting state, that when you are rest, you're not performing any functions, there is also motor and language components seen. So that tells us a very important thing about rest, which is there is a default mode network. There are several functions that works without you performing functions, and this can be inferred to language lateralization, or where we can see the phenomena of dominant hemisphere of the brain, which corresponds to more utilization of the more utilization of the language functions than the other hemisphere. And the thing that I'm still looking for, which is the correlation and anti-correlation, where you have sometimes you have a correlation with the motor task, like for example, when you move your fingers, you get an activation in the contralateral side, but there is also an activation in other regions, which is puzzling for me. So it's not only activation in one region, there is activation in multiple regions that are not correlated, they are anti-correlated. So they give us a total opposite usage, like the brain is using or shifting the blood to the one side and one region, and leaving the other region unshifted. Laterality is important in many aspects of performing tasks. For example, the motor function of region involve the contralateral side, the motor functions and the speech production of Broca mostly in the left hemisphere, and also there is an issue with the brain dominance with the people who are having mixed dominance. So mixed, like two hemispheres of the brain are performing the same function. Children which didn't develop adequate brain dominance or lateralization may find they have difficulty developing certain skills, delay in mastering vocabulary, language, and grammar fluency. And here we go. Just a brief talk about language lateralization, the blood level, blood oxygenation level dependent, and functional MRI, and also the the brain forms the speech through the Broca and Wernicke, and the function of the graph theory and understanding or connecting the dots related to brain functions. And the rest of the video I'm gonna leave it as you hear the sounds of the waves. That's it, and thank you for watching. Keep watching if you want to listen to the music at the end of the video. Thank you.